Hi, hello, and welcome to another whiteboard trading video. I'm Elliot Brecht with the Cheeky Scientist, and today we're going to cover why referrals are so important and how you actually generate them. Wanted to go over this because we've seen a lot of people are having a lot of success in starting off their informational interviews and connecting with more people, but they're not being able to switch it over to get to that actual referral at the end and like tying it all together. And so I wanted to go over a few aspects of why it's so important, how much easier it really is than you think it is, and how you can actually lower that activation energy to get people to actually give you and generate that actual referral. So everyone's heard about the saying, it's who you know. And you've also probably heard about the 6 degrees of separation, how you're only 6 degrees of separation from anybody in the world. Like you could actually talk to the president of potentially, or the prime minister, or anybody in the world after connecting to 6 people. However, within moving into the job opportunity, this is drastically reduced. You only need to maybe go like 2, 3 people at the most. Usually it's only even one person, one connection that can get you over to that next person to really, connect you over to the hiring manager, that person who's going to actually get you that job. And so you've got you've got the shared connection, somebody at the, at the job that you want to work for, and then the hiring manager. And it's really that close, that easy. It's really not that far apart. And you just need to remember to try and add value to each of the connections as you move through. This is where some people have the hardest time. When you're initially connecting with and talking to somebody, before you ask them to connect you to the hiring manager or to employee at this other company, you have to add value to them first. You do this by, showing appreciation for them as a colleague, complimenting their work, saying, I saw that you read, you wrote this article, this is great. I saw you were published in this. I see that you're involved in this research. Complimenting them and talking about, complimenting their work and what they've done. Congratulating them on their career progression. Asking them how they got into the opportunity. Oh, I see that you moved from academia into industry. Can you tell me how you did this? I see you just got a promotion. This is great. How did you go about this? How excited are you for, moving into this next step of your career? Ask them for their personal opinion. When people ask for a personal opinion, you always are going to get much more reception than asking them to do something. One of Isaiah's favorite examples is you need to move, all right? And how much easier is it to ask someone, oh, I'm going to be moving. I know that you've moved before. Do you have any suggestion for something I should do? Versus saying, can you help me move? Because asking someone to help you move is a big ask. Just like asking someone to refer you to a hiring manager is a big ask. But if you ask them, I see that you transitioned out of academia into industry. How did you do this? That's asking them the same thing as asking them, I see you've moved before. Can you tell me how you did it? So you want to go about things in this type of manner. Instead of directly asking them for something, ask them how they did it, how they got there. And this, asking them this personal opinion, is a great way of getting that insight from someone else who's in there. Asking their advice, asking their opinion. How did you do this? You can also make a recommendation for them. If you go through and see that they're working at a specific industry area, see that they've been to this different conferences, what their interests are, you make a recommendation. Oh, I see that you enjoy this sport. Have you watched this other sport? I see that you're an avid hiker. Have you actually hiked into this park that's near you? I've heard that it's great. Doing these types of things are really great. Making a recommendation, giving them some input and advice for their to make them feel like you're valuing them as a person. You can also make an introduction. Same sort of thing is like, I see you're in this area. I think you might enjoy talking to, Sarah. She's great, and she really knows a lot more about the same subject that you're doing. So you ask these types of things, and that's really going to help lower that activation energy of getting that person, that shared connection, to connect you to the employee, to get that employee in a company, to then connect you to that hiring manager. So you move along in these types of ways, adding value each to them so that it's easier for them to then recommend you to the next person, to the next step. And it's really not that many people that you need to do. Also, it is a numbers game, so you have to go through and you want to start reaching out to many different people, fostering many different networks, make lots of different connections, not just going through and focusing, I want this one job, this one person, one at a time. This way you actually have diversification of your opportunities, and you can make much more ROI, on what you're doing. The return on the investment that you're putting out is going to be so much greater. And why are these referrals so important? Why do companies value them? Why are we always telling you to get a referral instead of just, advertising and putting out onto these job boards? And there's several different reasons, because a company really, really wants to hire someone who is going to remain a part of the organization, because there's lots of studies that have shown that after 2 years, people who have been hired versus from a job board, 85% of those people leave to go to another opportunity. However, this number is drastically reduced to only 55% of people leaving who've been from a referral. They've also shown that, yes, those seem like large numbers, but that chunk of people who are going to stay is a big plus and big win for the company, because they're spending tens of, or not hundreds of thousands of dollars on the hiring process, and then onboarding and training and bringing people in. So that initial onboarding search, going through with the committees, going through that, can cost upwards of like $60,000 for some companies. And then bringing somebody on board can be hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're spending on a person in there, with the benefits, the overhead, the opportunity, the training that they're providing there. So they want people to stay. There's a big extent. So they don't want to have to go through this process over and over again. So the more likely someone is to stay longer than that period, they really want people like this. So they're going to go towards those referrals much more, because their studies have shown that 88% of employers and prefer that referral over other candidates when they're going through, because of that retention, because these bring in the best candidates, because they've already been vetted by the people who are referring you to someone else. They've already shown that they can interact and enjoy interacting with you as a candidate, as a person, and this is going to then come back to the company tenfold, because again, all of this investment, all of this money that they're putting into you as the candidate becomes and gets returned, and they want to retain people, again, as much as possible because of that cost. So you want to go through and you want to search for that opportunity that you want. It's not 6 degrees of separation. It's like 1 or 2 degrees of separation that you have from somebody. You would be surprised. Search for the companies that have opportunities that excite you. Go through and then look and see if you have any shared connections at the company. LinkedIn is great about showing you if they're a 3rd degree or 2nd degree or 1st degree connection that you have. You then can talk to those people, set up informational interviews, and then say, or ask them to, connect you to somebody else that you already know. You have to go through and make sure the shared connection, you've added value to them before you get them to connect you with this next person who, because you've then been referred to them from your shared connection, they're going to be much more likely to talk to you. They're going to be much more receptive of having a conversation with you. And again, you're going to go through and move through each of these ways of adding value to each of these people, showing appreciation for them as a colleague, appreciating and complimenting their work, congratulating them on their career progression, asking them for their opinion, ask them for their personal advice on things. Make a recommendation to them of who they can talk to or something else they can do, and making an introduction for them to somebody else. It makes it then easier for them to introduce you to somebody else as well, to that employee, to that hiring manager. So you got to keep going through these steps each time, and it's really not as many as you think, because again, you're not doing the 6 degrees. You're really only doing 1 or 2 degrees of separation before you're going to be able to talk to that hiring manager. All right. This takes us to the end of this whiteboard training video. So you can head over to phdsgethired.com to learn more about our flagship program, Getting PhDs Hired, the Cheeky Scientist Association. And as always, everybody, remember your value as a PhD and keep thinking and acting like an industry professional. Bye, you guys.